the streets. That's where they're moving. That's why they're demonstrating. That's why they're defying even threats from the police, from the government. If you demonstrate, you're traitors. If you do this, we'll deal with you. We'll talk to you in language which you understand. It doesn't work with anybody any longer. Because if the nation is on a society,
the problem is northwest. The same people, same culture, killing each other, stealing each other's cattle, burning their villages. As I said, we are going to treat them in the language they will understand. We have given the police and the military power to be ruthless.
sometimes we get that, and that's what's happening to people in the streets. That's why they're moving. That's why they're demonstrating. That's why they're defying even threats from the police, from the government. If you demonstrate, you're traitors. If you do this, we'll deal with you. We'll talk to you in language which you understand. It doesn't work with anybody any longer. Because if the nation is on a suicide slide, the people who feel that they do not deserve that kind of suicidal plunge, they have a right to say sorry.
The problem is northwest. The same people, same culture, killing each other, stealing each other's cattle, burning their villages. As I said, we are going to treat them in the language they will understand. We have given the police and the military power to be ruthless.
Sometimes we get that, and that's what's happening to people in the streets. That's why they're moving. That's why they're demonstrating. That's why they're defying even threats from the police, from the government. If you demonstrate, you're traitors. If you do this, we'll deal with you. We'll talk to you in language which you understand. It doesn't work with anybody any longer. Because if the nation is on a suicide slide, the people who feel that they do not deserve that kind of suicidal plunge, they have a right to say sorry.
The problem is northwest. The same people, same culture, killing each other, stealing each other's cattle, burning their villages. As I said, we are going to treat them in the language they will understand. We have given the police and the military power to be ruthless.
Sometimes we get that, and that's what's happening to people in the streets. That's why they're moving. That's why they're demonstrating. That's why they're defying even threats from the police, from the government. If you demonstrate, you're traitors. If you do this, we'll deal with you. We'll talk to you in language which you understand. It doesn't work with anybody any longer. Because if the nation is on a suicide slide, the people who feel that they do not deserve that kind of suicidal apply, they have a right to say sorry.
The problem is northwest. The same people, same culture, killing each other, stealing each other's cattle, burning their villages. As I said, we are going to treat it.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, everybody, wherever you may be in the world. Here we are again on this issue of Yorexit, making sense and nonsense of the concept of people trying to leave the country, or groups of people trying to leave the country. First of all, let me apologize for coming on late. We had some technical issues we were working out, and it took us a little while to get things right, because most of my guests today are not in the studios. But moving on, we need to recognize the fact that this great man fell under fire to the military forces that invaded his otherwise peaceful existence, peaceful night. He was in Chief Sundayigboho's house in Ibadan on June 30th when the house was raided. Rest in peace, Mr. Dogon. He is a matter for the cause of the Yoruba nation. He used to be very reliable source of information for those of us in the media working on the program. Still under abduction is Lady K. Lady K was in her bedroom, and as you can see from her face, that person was certainly scared. She wasn't wearing any armored jacket or carrying a gun to face the invaders, who are French-speaking people. Probably her allegation right now is that she was owning a phone and talking on her phone. You must wonder, as we all do, as to why. Why? What's the cause of all this suffering and tension? Please, as we go on, you can begin to send in your questions through the chat. We will not take calls at this point in time, but begin to send in your questions, and I will explain in more details in a little while down the line. Yeah, coming back to but why? We dare say that the problem of Nigeria boils down to the supposedly black gold, which is supposed to bring them wealth, right? The black gold has turned red with the blood of innocent Nigerians constantly soaking, it. And it seems not to stop. The Attorney General broke this week by gloating that he has captured Nnamdi Kanu. His press statement gave so much officialdom to the act that he was so proud of it, and that he had to translate it into the language understood by his fellow Northerners to rein in the point. We have since found out that Nnamdi Kanu was not legally extradited, but was stolen from Kenya in a manner that reminds us of Umaru Dikko, who was created from London. Except that in Umaru Dikko's case, people were actually clapping for the government at the time. Unlike in this case, unlike in the case of Malami and Nnamdi Kanu, there are riots, there are protests, demonstrations all over the world against the concept of him being abducted and brought into the country. Yet people are still asking, the people are disturbed by the whole concept that, okay, what's happening to Boko Haram? Why have they not been raiding, or their leader reined in such a way? These are actually people carrying arms, okay? Perpetrators of Ibarakwa, Igangan, the people who assaulted Chief Falai, the people who caused genocide in Owerri are yet to be accounted for or brought to book or shown to us. We have seen that the Buhari government had come out saying they're challenged by the, economic mismanagement in the setup, and they seem to have no clue. These Okada riders who carry PhD in their pockets all over the place, they've been sent to their governors to deal with the issue while they are riding Okada all over the place. And like we established last week, even in the north, the Almajiris still go about begging, and all we get from the government is, oh, I've sent money to your local governments, go and meet your governors, and go and meet your local government chairman and ask them about the money. Which brings me to this other emblem of economic mismanagement of our system. When Buhari announced the LNG process, the Trans 7 in the last in the past few weeks, he said, he gave it the kind of political tone that kept the political actors, our leaders, quiet. All the people clamoring for restructuring kept mum. Their mouths began to water at the dangling carrot of the new LNG project coming on board. That government recently handed over the primary source of Nigeria's revenue to one man, and they do not care. Anybody who talks about it is an enemy of the government. Till today, only Aliko Dangote's trucks, cross freely across Nigeria's borders. Catching the bait, and political leaders clamor for for quiet. Everybody keep calm, don't cause trouble, because election 2023 must hold. It must proceed unfettered. However, we have the noise level increasing for agitation from everywhere, or self-determination from everybody all over the world, and the amplitude, the noise keeps on rising, yet the political elite seems not to understand what's going on. At this point, as I'm speaking to you, each tribe has come out and they're reassessing their political future and future economic survival. To help me guide the discussion today as to what's the relevance of oil or gas, oil and gas, a primary source of economy, to the disquiet in the political system, I've invited two people, and I hope they will join us. I know that one of them has joined us. I know the others will join us very soon. So you are going to help me welcome two very accomplished intellectuals on this program eventually. One of them is Mr. Femi Akimbi. Mr. Akimbi is the director of private sector business development and Africa and the diaspora. His organization is the Washington-based Manchester Trade Limited. They are advisors to governments worldwide on economic matters. And one of Mr. Akimbi's special areas of interest is oil and gas. He consults on the oil and gas area. I will introduce the other guests once he joins us on the line. We will listen to them in a minute. But let's do some quick housekeeping before I hand over to Mr. Akimbi to take over the discussion. One is, last week we promised about having the trivia. Our sponsors have $25 for us each program. If we don't use it, it becomes $50 the next program. It's a gift for your participation. The way we're going to do it today is the number 3 question that comes in that we announce and talk about. You get your $25 at the end, of the discussion. You can use the chat box to send in your question. You can call in your question, okay? But if you are number 3, you get the $25 gifts, from me, commercial. So while we wait, Mr. Akimbi will be coming around.
The return, the reckoning, so African Americans and Africans together, coming together on this Yoruba Central platform is what we need at this time. And this organization, 9 solid programs. For the language school, we offer the Arts and Heritage Museum, we offer the theater, talking drum and dance program, we offer the youth scholarship that provides scholarship to college students who are leaving high school who have gained admission. We have the community program for families. We have the health and wellness program. All of these programs, youth program, I don't want to forget that, because the youth are the future. You and I, we are the youth. So if there's anyone out there who falls in the demographic of young parents who have young children like we do, we need you to come join us, Africans and African Americans alike. Let us build a strong youth movement that has its foundation on something that we can actually we can actually count on, which is our culture and our heritage. So we invite you to come to the Yoruba Cultural Center. Of course, book a tour to come to the museum.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The discussion is on, and thank you, Mr. Akimbi, for that broad-based education that you gave us as to the historical perspectives that led us to where we are. But where we are right now, if we sense the drum beats on the streets, it tells us that the Yoruba people are coming to a situation where they find themselves. For instance, either you are following Professor Akintoye and his call for separation, exiting the Nigerian Union, as it were, or you want to follow the political elite, aka Tinubu and Oshibajo, to say, okay, let's hang on till the elections come around. The Igbos also have their own. They have people with Nnamdi Kanu, they have the Ohanese, they have groups coming up. But all of these groups are like, okay, just like we concluded here last week, Nigeria is a failed state. Nigeria is a failed state. So what to strive to get out? Is it a strive to get new political leaders, new leaders that can make the economy work for you, instead of going to school all over and then having nothing to show for it? How will you approach that advice?
I think a Nigerian that have lived outside of the country for 42 years, all I could have his opinion. I, of course, understood the dynamics of the issue. One, we're split. There are some among the Yorubas who think that we should try to restructure and try our best to get to a regional system with the same form of central control system. And I think about X percentage of us of that thinking. The other group of the Professor Akintoye and the like are adamant that our time is up, that there's no way to work this out, that it's too late for that. I think for someone like me who is in the global lobbying business and work, we consult for different entities. And I think my worries are well documented in the past. I did some work for South Sudan and North Sudan. They split for a long period of time. And after they split, what scared me the most is that they start to fight among one another. On the issue of should we go or should we not go? Depending on which side you are looking at it from. If you are a Yoruba man who in the educational system in Nigeria, you must have an institution. For example, when I was younger, if I'm from it, you must score 79 points to get to a higher institution. Where someone from the north need a level of the same curriculum to get, of the same test to get to the same institution we're going to. They call this the quota system. The question the quota is favoring who? Do we have an equal country? Are we submerging the country because of this quota system? That's one area of us looking at it. The second issue is you are about to kind of want to address. It's mostly located in the southern part of the southwest part of the country. And the consequence of oil, most people are not talking about consequence of oil in the environmental cost to us. Oil spill, the processing of oil, the spilling of oil will cause location and the environment where it is already sourced from. Whereas in the north, they do not have it. The current system we are having is that once we have a federal system that control all the resources of the country, if someone gets in position, like the current administration, seems to now maneuver all the resources from the south to the north, of course, most of the Southerners are not going to be happy about this, and that's why some people are actually asking for an outright secession. And some people are asking for reconstruction or restructuring, rather. Some people are actually asking for no way out but to separate. The question becomes, could we separate peacefully, or is it going to get blocked? I have personal certain ideology, but hence I'm not on the ground completely. I reserve certain comment because of my lack on ground experience completely in the country. So my answer to you would be depend on who you are, where you're looking at it. But of the Yoruba that succession. So also we have the issue of the Igbo people by this in the 60s, and now they're really actively trying to. The question becomes, is the federal of Nigeria responding to the end of the citizen? Is the federal government of Nigeria listening to the cry of the insecurity? Is the federal government of Nigeria listening to the kidnapping? Is the federal government of Nigeria listening to the herdsmen taking their cattle all over the places, destroy people's crop, and they're having clashes with the farmer? Can all of this be resolved? And the other fundamental issue is that we're a failed economical state. Because Nigeria does not even score from 1 to 20 of the first group of people who make most of their income or make any serious income out of cattle business. Milk, cattle farm are all over the world. We're not one of the first 10 people who sell beef to the world or who sell milk to the world. And even the beef, we can't even maintain the beef business in our country because we don't have a efficient system. So we have fundamental flawed system all over the place. But the last question I'm going to be asking is: we have a Fulani head of state, president, and you have a Yoruba vice president. The question becomes: what is missing, and why is the system not working?
Exactly, and that exactly is the question people are asking. That everybody has tried every trick in their in their baggage, in their pockets, and nothing seems to be working. So why are we, why do we think there is anything after 2023 that can work? And right now the government seems determined to push us or find its way, however it maneuvers the system to get that 2023 elections to happen. Unfortunately, the youths are crying that they are being disenfranchised from participating even in that 2023 election. Many of them were, many of their parties were deregistered by INEC recently. So, we will continue after the break. We'll take a break right now, and then we'll continue this discussion right after the break. Everybody, we were just going on to the break, reviewing what will happen. And one of the questions we have here says, Buhari continues to rubbish the Senate constitutional review process. You know, that's even part of his government. The Senate set up, a panel to do its normal function of reviewing the constitution. But the man says, no, I'm not even interested in reviewing. I'm not interested in restructuring. I'm not interested in nothing. Everybody should just stay quiet and keep calm. And, just so long, as far as I'm concerned, I must hand over an intact constitution to the next government. Whatever the plan, whatever he's thinking of that next government that he plans to hand over to, we don't know who he plans to hand over to and what's in there. But right now, what we continue to see is in the system is selective justice, selective prosecution of certain people, certain parts of the economy, certain parts of the population, and it's what has gotten us here. What is the interest? What is the why is this control, the intention to keep grab of the economic setup of control of the economy of the country so important that we have some people not even interested in other people progressing economically while they have control and continue to oppress them? And that's what we have. That's what I would like you to help us look at. The man continues to rubbish anything that has any objection to his 2023 agenda.
I think, again, thank you for attending to the issue. I think we need to first of all look at the whole of the African continent, post-colonial era. Our political system is drawn out of a foreign doctrine. Our economical system is established on top of a system of colonialization originally. The former system we're still using are all still colonial based. They do not address the issue of the African in the African sense from an African perspective. So the result of some of those consequences is that most all of us in the African continent are suffering. The effect of those suffrage is when you see one single person get to power and he or she absolutely misuse that power. You have some part of the African continent where some people are in power for almost 30 years. You have absolute power. There are most of the African continent governmental system is alien to us, and we're not properly even using the alien system we are adopting to befit us. Our constitution of most of the African continent is taken away from the backdrop from the leaflet of the European countries. That's one of the issues that is the undercurrent here we don't seem to look at before we start to look at individual government. Individual government do come and go. They bring their pluses, they bring their minuses. I have my own personal opinion and thoughts about this administration and their effort to blindly not, in my position, address the insecurity issue that is affecting the masses in the country. The pressure is high, kidnapping is high, banditry is high. There's violence and there's movement of people without direction. The question becomes, the boundary of Benin Republic was closed while the boundary of Niger to Nigeria was open, and without explaining the economical ramification or factor behind those decisions. I think the way things are going, I am not sure if the system or the country will not erupt in violence. The attempt to kidnap Kano out of a foreign country which is against international law, may spread to the Igbos to come out and decide to take laws into their hands. And then the government may want to confront it with security pressure. That could lead to bloody confrontation. On the Yoruba side, or the Southwest, we're suffering from a lot of level of anxiety. People are not able to move freely anymore. As of just yesterday, 8 people were kidnapped in Akure Ife Road, broad daylight, by quote-unquote Fulani herdsmen. I think the question the rest of the world is asking is, where is the government? Where all these herdsmen are causing havoc in the life of the daily people of Nigeria. A lot of these people are poor. They cannot even maintain before you come at this additional stress. And they're asking, why is the effort so much put on the separatist agitators? Why the Boko Haram, the ISIS, and the like seems to be running rampant without check? And once sometimes they're caught, they seem to go scot-free. The question becomes, where's the justice in the system? Where's equity in our system? Those are the fundamental questions those of us in the global environment are asking. And the global stakeholders are asking the same question about our country. So, I think my only position is we must be very, very, very careful of agitating for war. War is never pretty. And at the end of all wars, you have rape, you have hunger, you have sorrow, you have death all over the place. And at the end of the day, you still have to come back to the table to negotiate.
Thank you, sir. And I think you should know. If anybody must know, I think you should know. Like, once again, we have to thank Mr. Femi Akinbi for coming on the program. He consults for governments all over the world. And they are about economic prosperity of the people. And one of the reasons why we're happy and lucky to have him on this show to educate us. The discussion will continue from there next week. You had him use some big words in there that pertain to interests. I mean, the issue, the breakdown of law and order and unfairness in the system, in so many ways, which has led to people, asking, what's next? What's next? One of the things, language we've been hearing very recently is the force majeure. And we are asking, people are asking, is it enforceable? Is it enforceable to annul the Nigerian Constitution? Can somebody say we've annulled it, just like we've had from the groups protesting against for agitation and self-determination as one of their steps? So next week we'll be looking at this. Is it enforceable? Who has the right? Who has the power? Who has the ability to actually annul the Nigerian Constitution and stop it from affecting them or affecting them, and how to go about it? Talking about peaceful exit from the system without war. And that's where the discussion will go next week. I hope the legal experts will join me, because we're having some other arguments in the legal arena at this point in time. There have been calls for the Attorney General to be disbarred by the Nigerian Bar Association. But today, the Vice President of the Nigerian Bar Association came out and said the government is on its right. What they did to Nnamdi Kanu is correct. What they did to Sundayigboho is the best in the circumstances, and that is what the Constitution says. So, with the background of this, we should be having some education next week, by the grace of God, when we look at the enforceability of the force majeure. I am Noah Omoluabi, wishing you all the best. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, Mr. Akinbi, once again.
With great pleasure. Please keep the peace, and just tell all our people, just be vigilant, that we cannot afford to go to war. is too bloody, it's too costly, and the price will be paid for in generations to come. We have to find a way, just like a marriage, it's not working. If you are married from Yoruba and you marry an Italian, if you run into problems, if you decide to go your separate way, your children will suffer the separation. If you decide to go to court, the lawyer takes your money. I guess what I'm saying, we have to find a peaceful assistance, a coexistence. And if we are going to separate, we need to first figure out a way to separate amicably without having to go to war. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Till then, thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
And God bless the people of Nigeria. Thank you.